Last weekend I took a trip to Dahlonega, Georgia, and it is a very fascinating little place. It's actually one of the oldest towns in Georgia in the South, and it's actually the site of the very first gold rush in America. So it's still an active gold mining town. So the draw of going to Dahlonega is the uh, fascinating unchanged city square, the two gold mines that you can visit and kind of play around in, abundance of waterfalls, and then the sort of Wild West gold rush culture that still exists in the town. So I want to show you some souvenirs I picked up. I guess the first thing I'll show you is silly, but at the Gold Museum in Dahlonega, I bought this souvenir of get the gold flecks in some sort of suspension liquid. Um, Now I know that this is the same stuff they put in a bottle of Goldschlager, and it's not worth anything, but it's still neat to look at. And I've always wanted one, and I've seen these all over the place, and I've always wanted to own one just to play with and look at. This is about $1 worth, maybe. If there's $4 worth of gold in each bottle of Goldschlager, then I would say this is about $1 worth. So, however, I also at the Gold Museum bought the Secrets of Gold Panning book. And by the way, the Gold Museum is in the city square, and it just to show you, that building right there in the city square used to be the courthouse, the 1836 courthouse. So it's a very old building. So this is the book about Secrets of Gold Panning, and as you can see, it says includes sample of real gold. So the book itself is a handsome little book. Copyright 1984. And the book says it will reveal 9 secrets plus a whole lot more inside information used by prospectors and gold panning professionals. And it tells you the secrets. And finally, when we get to the last page, if you look carefully under the sticker, there are 2 small pieces of gold. Right there. So that's the free gold that came with the book. So that's a fun little souvenir to have. Okay. And I was showing you this book here. This is a brief timeline of Dahlonaga's golden history, and this is a book you can purchase at the Gold Museum, and it basically gives you a timeline that talks about Dahlonega and the state of Georgia itself. And there's some things you may not know, but Georgia actually used to include the present-day states of Alabama and Mississippi. And it talks about all of the events of the Dahlonega Gold Rush, how the capital in Georgia was moved from Milledgeville to Atlanta, go to the Civil War, post-Civil War, and then how everything essentially ended in World War II. So that's that's also a very nice, unique souvenir. And another, besides the gold, one of the things we wanted to see in Dahlonega was see how it's not stapled, it's eco-stapled. We wanted to see the waterfalls, and this little guide that they gave us talks about all of the different waterfalls in the Dahlonega area. I guess that staple thing didn't work very well. And we actually went to, we only had really one full day. We went to Anna Ruby Falls. I don't see it on here. And that was beautiful. Well, yes, we went to a waterfall called Ruby Falls, and I thought it was going to be in this packet, but that's okay. But there are many. The point of the story is there are many waterfalls you can visit in Dahlonega, and Ruby was just one that we saw. This is a little book about Dahlonega. Say you've been to a place like Savannah or Charleston. This is a small version. This is like a small town, but it's very touristy in the respect that it's got a lot of culture. And this shows you the 2 gold mines that you can go if you want to, and actually pan for gold. Now, keep in mind that they put the gold in there, so you're not really discovering anything, but it's supposed to be for fun. Then there's also a lot of vineyards, wineries. It's on the Blue Ridge and Appalachian Mountains. Gold history and heritage. So, and it tells you about many things you can do in Dahlonega. There's river tubing. There's just quite a lot of stuff. There's also 2 very nice zoos that are more like farms where the animals are free to roam around, and you can have animal encounters, like encounters with otters and sloths and other animals. They actually have a Broadway theater that Newsies was showing while we were there. It's a superior type of like stage theater that they have, which is also pretty cool for a fairly small town. And there's a great restaurant and nightlife to partake of. So that's the Dahlonega city guide. And here's a map of Lumpkin County and the surrounding areas. So, and it shows you the points of interest. Dahlonega being right there. And there is, as you can see, quite a lot of activity to do. The other towns that we saw were Cleveland and Helen, and those towns, Helen is pretty much like a little German village. It's an alpine village, and Cleveland is the small town where the zoo resides. And this is a city map of Dahlonega, and it also shows you some of the businesses that you could find there. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is the newspaper, the Dahlonega Nugget, which is just the perfect title for a Gold Town newspaper. We'll just kind of flip through the paper. I do really like the there's the crime reports. You don't see newspapers that much these days, though. It's kind of neat to see a local paper from a town that's not all that big. And there's little circulars, Walgreens, Kroger. Some coupons, maybe. The sports page. The Miners is the team. Here's the crossword puzzles and the Sudoku. Sudoku. I can't say that. And we've got the legal ads and so forth. I'm gonna get a sip of coffee. And the classifieds. And there's the back of the paper. So this will reside in my special newspaper collection. My copy of the Dahlonega Nugget. The other paper was the White County News. It was... It's a little bit of a bigger paper, but this is the other local paper. Helen is one of the towns. It's like the Alpine town. And there's the arrests in the police blotter. Beware of money grab propaganda. Values of faith embedded in our law. It feels weird after all of my videos to be looking through a brand new newspaper that covers events from the last few days. So same ad on the back, and here's our circulars. There's more. There's an IGA circular and Quality Foods. Is that Ingles or Ingles? I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I saw one when I was there. Lady Warrior Prep Sports. Here's all kinds of recognition of athletes. And the legal and classifieds. And that is the White County News. So these, when I'm doing these videos 50 years from now, these old papers will be interesting to look back on. Next thing I want to show you is some of the things you pick up for free when you're in the hotel, just to get an idea of all the things to do in town. And this is a map of the area, again a different map, and it shows all of the activities to do, and they're pinpointed on the map, like the Folk Pottery Museum and the City of Royston, Goats on the Roof, York House Inn, North Georgia Zoo, and on the back is just lots of different ads. So that's interesting. The next is Cherokee, North Carolina. This looks interesting. It was visit CherokeeNorthCarolina.com. How will Cherokee affect you? Let us count the ways. It's like a book and it folds out. This is what the owners told me a long time ago, and it's The Cherokees were hunters and gatherers, foraging the Great Smoky Mountains and the lowlands of the southern Appalachians for food while hunting, fishing, and trapping game. This has a brief history of the Cherokee people. And it continues. It's a very nicely designed book about their culture. And then the things to do. Centuries of Cherokee culture in one afternoon. So this is a very interesting little book. And this shows places to stay. And it's got a map. So actually, you could unfold it into a book like this. It's almost like a book. I might flatten it out and do that, so you could actually read it like a book. Because I thought it unfolded like a map, but it doesn't. It's actually like a book. I might put it in my bookcase so it'll stay flat like that, because I actually kind of like it. I'd like to flip through this again and see about maybe places I'd like to go see. It's very cool. Okay. Northeast Georgia Lake Region. This is this is a map of the lakes, and it shows the campgrounds, parks, and historical sites. Camp Toccoa at Currahee. That's where Easy Company trained, a band of brothers. That's very nice. This is all about the waterfalls we talked about. I wonder if there's so many waterfalls, and this is a map of where the waterfalls are at. I still don't see my waterfall in here. Okay. This is Underground Adventures at Consolidated Gold Mines, Gold Panning, Gemstone Mining, and Gem Cutting. And we didn't do that, but it would be interesting to see the underground gold mine. This is Grissom Gold Mine. We saw this place, but we didn't go in. This is the other mine where you can pan and find gemstones and gold. This looked good. This is a German restaurant with German Swiss specialties. It was closed the day we were there because the owners were on vacation. It's called Bratzeit. As you can see, the German Swiss flags. And here's the menu. Oh, that looks good. I would have been so happy if it were open, because they have Jaeger Schnitzel, which is one of my favorites. Potato pancakes. Pretzels. Black Forest cake. Oh boy. I missed out on that, but I am going to keep that. Folk Pottery Museum of Northeast Georgia. Very neat. Where it's always Christmas but never on Sunday. The place where Santa shops. Hiawassee, Georgia. I guess it's an always Christmas store. Mark of the Potter, an interesting shop of contemporary crafts. And here's a really detailed map of how to get there. It has about the whole doggone state, and they wrote right there where it's at. John C. Campbell, where nature inspires creativity, thrives, and spirits blossom. Another folk art kind of place. River Trips and Appalachian Outfitters. Just if you were thinking about going camping or tubing, go to Appalachian Outfitters, get your stuff. Wildwood General Store. That's in Helen, Georgia. Sells cuckoo clocks and German stuff. Built in 1911. Originally a row house for laborers working on a local lumber company. Now it's a general store. The Fall Festival, October 11th through 19th. In Hiawassee. Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin Brothers. Crystal Gale. Ronnie McDowell and Bottoms Up. T.G. Shepherd and Stone Cold. Gary Puckett and Union Gap. An interesting thing about Cleveland, Georgia is it's the birthplace of the Cabbage Patch Kid. And so the Babyland Cabbage Patch Kid hospital where they make them is there. So if you're a Cabbage Patch Kid collector, this is where you need to go. Paul's Steakhouse, serving Helen steaks and seafood for 54 years. So if you're looking for a good steak, that's where you go. We did go here, the North Georgia Zoo and Farm, and it was a nice zoo where the animals have a lot of space, and rather than walking through, they tour you through it so you can see. But I think they only do the guided tours, but there's also a lot of animals you can feed and pet, and it was really, really cool. Really enjoyed it. And finally, Dahlonaga's Historic Tour. Discover Dahlonaga's nationally registered historic district through a picturesque walking tour. And it is well worth it if you do get a chance to go, because it has one of those old town squares that looks like it's you walked back in time. And the last thing I'll show you I picked up in Dahlonega is a deck of heart squared linen eagle ferrule cards. And I already tore through the stamp so I could open them. These are cards used for the game of Pharaoh, which was a popular game in the 1800s. When you think of a gold mining town, you think of Pharaoh. They're cut with square edges. Beautiful colors. Pharaoh decks do not have jokers. They do not have numbers on them. You just have to sort of memorize the face of the card so you'll know which card you're playing. For example, that's a 6, that's a 7, that's an 8 of diamonds. Beautiful, brilliant colors. They feel good. They have a linen texture and feel to them. Very much like a work of art. I wish I knew how to play Pharaoh, but I want to find out how, so I can actually play the game with this deck of Pharaoh cards. And we end on the Ace of Hearts. So that's my deck of Pharaoh cards. So, I think I showed you just about everything from my trip. A lot of maps, and as you can see, if you're ever down in Georgia and if you want to see something kind of interesting and different, then this is a town you should strongly consider visiting.